This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
No, it's a big game tonight. Want to get back on the winning ways, and here we are. Coming with that sound, partner.
Yes.
Got to get it going.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. We was right to
We
us.
usually do. I know.
Yeah.
We usually come right to us.
I
make
appreciate
sure
your effort.
my hair, I make sure that was all fine and dandy, but already some comments coming in. I love it. Lightning tonight taking on the Kings. You wonder with these Western Conference teams, you want to win every game. That's the cliche. Does it have the same pop than these teams in the East? Like the LA Kings. I mean,
these are games on the schedule. So, I get it. Yes, this game doesn't have the same undercurrent of emotion that a game against the Panthers would. Certainly not.
For sure.
But, the Lightning didn't meet the moment against the Panthers on Monday. So
yeah,
I'm
they
hoping
didn't.
that they come out tonight and are focused on doing what they've done well throughout most of the season, which is compete hard, play at a reasonably high level, defend well, and really, in most games this year, the Lightning have played even or better than their opponent.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. If you forget the first 6 games, or not forget, but from Game 7 on, a game in which they lost to Chicago, but I thought they outplayed the Hawks, most of the games the Lightning have played, they've been right there with the other team.
Sure.
They lost a couple of games where, like, Rangers and Vancouver, it was like by hook or by crook, everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but they still battled in those games.
Yeah.
And really the one clunker that I can think of was the last game. There were some circumstances there, as we talked about, coming back after the long road trip, but no excuses because the Panthers are also finishing up a road trip. They got outplayed. But those games have been few and far between. So whether this is an opponent where you have like a lot of emotional undercurrent or not, you have to go out and try and perform. I think the Lightning will be buoyed by the expected return of both Vasilevskiy and McDonagh. Beyond just having them in the lineup, which will help, certainly. And you hope that Mac is able to kind of get back into the swing of things quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had misspoken the other day when I said he missed, he's missed more than half the season. He played 15, he's missed 18 since. So that's a long time to be out. And, he's been skating. He skated a little bit. Then he took a little time off again from being on the ice, not from rehab. He's been back on the ice. So let's see how he does. One of the things he talked about when he met with the media yesterday, and I heard the clip, he said, it's not just about skating. It's making sure that I could skate at the speed that I need to skate at and feel comfortable in the skate to be able to not get exposed. Honestly, he didn't say that. I'm saying that. But like, if you're not going to skate at the pace that you're used to skating, you want to be ready. You want to be able to contribute. So clearly McDonagh felt that he wasn't really able to do that when, he said, look, it took a little bit longer maybe than anybody had hoped, but you have to be patient. Well, patience has paid off now. He is ready. He has given himself the green light. I'm sure the doctors have given him the green light. Trainers have given him the green light. Yeah. Let's see how he does. But the reality is, he's missed 18 games. So
it's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games, yeah.
Yeah.
The Kings are playing the second half of a back-to-back. They are an interesting team. I think I mentioned yesterday, Greg, and by the way, I'm back home, as people on the video stream who are joining us can see. I was at the skate this morning. It was a very lightly attended optional skate in terms of on the ice. Also, John Cooper is not talking to the media until later, like 5:30. So I kind of saw what was going on and headed back home to do the show here with you. The Kings played last night. So if they even have a skate, it's probably going to be very lightly attended. They lost in Sunrise last night, 3-2. So that was a road loss for them. They've had a pretty good road record this year, though. What are they now? 10-4-5. Mention all the overtime games they played. So that's helped. So, they played. Tonight is their 20th road game. So they played a lot of road games. They basically had a split in the first 19. They've won 10, and they have not won 9. But 5 of those that they have not won have gone to overtime. So cosmetically, their record is quite good. They are 6 games over Hockey 500 on the road. At home, it has been a different story, though. 4-6-4 at home. And I know I mentioned how good they were at home last year. In the regular season, they went 31-6-4 at home. So they've already lost as many games last year, both in regulation and overtime at home, than they did all of last year. So this has been a little bit of an adjustment year for them. It's Andrei Kopitar's farewell tour, right? He's announced that this is his last year, Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
And, this is going to be his last game in Florida unless, the teams meet in the Stanley Cup final or the Panthers meet the Kings in the Stanley Cup final. He's not coming back to Florida. So there's the emotional component there, but he's still playing well. I'm seeing his ice time. He's playing often over 20 minutes a game. So they are still leaning on him. I think, and this is me just speculating, I think the loss of Gavrikov has hurt this team. He went to the Rangers. Remember, him and Mikey Anderson were a great pair last year because Doughty got hurt in the preseason last year. Missed 2/3 of the regular season. And, Gavrikov and Anderson, that was their top pair.
Yeah.
And now you're pulling one half of that out. I don't know if Anderson's playing with Doughty. That would probably be my hunch, my expectation. But they've been good defensively still. They haven't been quite as good defensively. And the home record is very surprising. And also the rest of the conference, much of the rest of the conference has gotten better. So right now they're in wild card 1. Now on the flip side, they still have, I would say, a good roster. Kemper got injured. Rantanen ran into him a couple of games ago. This is a topic for another day, Greg, maybe, yeah. But what's going on with Rantanen? All of a sudden he's having all these plays which are, very questionable. And for one, he got suspended. It was against Calgary. He hit Coronado, which came right after he had hit Romanov with the Islanders. Mm-hmm. Now he knocks Kemper out of action. Kemper is injured, right? He got hit in the crease by Rantanen. Anyway, the Kings are doing okay defensively. What they're not doing as well is just winning games, honestly. And, they do have a favorable second half in that they have a lot of home games, which is typical. I feel like they usually backload their schedule for some reason with a lot of home games in the second half, but their home record hasn't been very good. So, it's a little bit of a wobbly start to the year for the Kings, but as I mentioned, I still think that they have a pretty good team. And right now they are in wild card 1. So yeah, that's my overview of the Kings without knowing them too well.
Yeah, not the most dynamic lineup. Just looking at some of the numbers. I mean, Kempe's their leading goal scorer, or one of them. He's got 11. Fiala's got 12.
Player.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Corey Perry's
they got
Kuzmenko. 7 goals.
Kuzmenko's a good power play guy. He scored in the power play for them last night. Remember he had that great year in Vancouver. And then he's bounced around since
39
then. He went
goals.
Yeah, he went from Vancouver to Calgary, Calgary to Philly, Philly to LA, all in the last couple of years. He had a good playoff for them when they were doing well against Edmonton. Kuzmenko had a good playoff. I think he finished with 6 points in the 6 games, but a lot of those came early when the Kings won the first 2, and they were up in games 3 and 4, and then they kind of fell apart and they lost games 5 and 6. They lost 4 in a row after they were up 2-0. I think Kuzmenko has talent. They are very high on this young defenseman, Brant Clark, who's an offensive-minded defenseman, but what does he have, 5 goals this year? I think that matches his high from last year. Doughty has been an offensive-minded defenseman. Doughty is playing less, though. I mean, it's understandable. He's, 35 years old. So they're not leaning on him quite as much. And he's also coming off a significant injury from last year. So, look, if you can defend, and I think they're still, what are they? Did I write it down? They're tied for 3rd in goals allowed per game, but the number is a little bit higher than what it was last year. That's a good defense levy they were last year. If you can defend like that, you're going to give yourself a chance to get points and go to overtime, which is exactly what they've done. The other thing that I'll mention about Kemper, because he's out, so their other goalies are Anton Forsberg, who played last night, And Lightning legend from the 2025 preseason, Phoenix Copley. We may see Copley tonight. He has not played an NHL game this year for the Kings. Remember, the Kings tried to send him through waivers. The Lightning grabbed him. That was when the Vasilevskiy preseason injury happened. And Copley was with the Lightning through much of camp and got into one preseason game for one period. That was the final game against the Panthers, the 322 penalty minute game, where Copley got put in the third period because Vasilevskiy had played the first two.
Yep.
And Copley's in that game. He's got like 8 guys available in front of him, right? Because the Lightning had like nobody left available to play in that game. That was a very unique experience for him and his only preseason appearance with the Lightning. But look, if they swap the goalies in a back-to-back, he's going to get the start tonight.
The other thing that was interesting, Danault.
Yes.
8 goals in his last 110 games. That's a drop-off.
I was surprised to see the story. I mentioned it yesterday. Elliot Friedman might have had it, that Danault has requested a trade or to be moved. So some of this is the player is like, I don't really like how I'm being used. What does he have, 5 assists this year? Now he's currently
got no goals.
injured. No goals. Yeah. So he's currently injured. He's listed on the game notes as injured. He's missed the last 3. There was a time where he was an extremely valuable player for whatever team he was on. He was a big part of the Montreal team that got to the final and lost to the Lightning.
Right.
Good on faceoffs, every year over 50%. Like you can, I mean, he's not going to be at 58, 59, but you can mark it down, 51, 52, gets to 53. Defensive-minded center, can chip in goals, but now it's not happening. So what is occurring? Is it that he's kind of hitting the point in his career? I think he's in his early 30s. I can look it up and see exactly.
Played some hard minutes.
He's played some hard minutes. He's gone deep in the playoffs, certainly a few times. But like I would have been very intrigued to look at acquiring Philip Danault if I knew he was on the block based on the Danault I remember. But maybe that guy, that's not the same guy anymore. The stats tell us it's not the same guy because he's doing nothing offensively.
Nothing.
For a team that is not, really like lighting up the score sheet. Generally, they win with defense, but still.
He needs to be a contributor offensively. You can't have that big of a fall off. Corey Perry, by the way, has 7 goals.
A lot of them came early. By the way, Danault is 32. So, I mean, he's still, he's in his early 30s. Perry had his 7 goals, I would say, in the first 10 to 15 games of the year. I can look up and see exactly how long it's been since he scored.
When those legs were fresh.
Well, I did see he was out on the ice when they scored their power play goal last night, but their power play struggled this year. It's 31st in the NHL. So Perry, he missed the first 6 games. So kind of take that into account. He came back in game 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. His 7 goals came in the first 16 games, but for him, it was the first 10 games. He hasn't scored since. So it's dried up. He's got 2 assists since then. His last goal was on November 9th. So, yes, for the year, 7 goals is great from Corey Perry, but it's all happened pretty early. Just seeing who else, Warren Fogle had a great year last year. I think he might have led their team in plus minus. He's another one of these guys that, can be hard to play against, very good in the playoffs, got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But what is he contributing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals.
I just don't think they have a lot of game breakers.
Yeah, they don't.
Are they kind of like the Islanders of the West? They're going to defend. They got some guys who are good players. I mean, Kopitar was a great player. You may even still say he is a great player, but is he going to drive play night in and night out? I don't know at this point.
Byfield had a kind of a breakout year offensively last year.
Goals.
What has he got? 4 goals. Yeah, he hasn't scored since November 13th.
And he was, was he like a 5th overall pick?
2nd overall pick.
I mean, you can't have your 2nd overall pick having 4 goals. And
Yeah.
look, he knows that. But, we talk about these draft picks. Yeah, it's a crapshoot later in the first round, but you get in that top 10, those guys have to be productive.
He had 22 goals last year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for,
pretty good.
his role on that team.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where the Kings are. I mean, I'm going to lean back on what I always say, Greg, and our fans are probably tired of hearing me say it. Like, if you're going to be able to defend, you're going to give yourself a chance to get in the playoffs. The Kings can defend. Now, they have a guy in net who hasn't played an NHL game all year, and let's see how he does, right? I should check Copley's numbers and see where he is as far as his,
Is there a
minor
tribute
league
video?
activity. I saw John Kelly this morning. I'm like, do you think Phoenix Copley's going to get a tribute video? So, it doesn't matter.
But it is funny.
He's on an emergency recall. Lightning actually traded him back to LA once they knew that Vasi was going to be okay.
Phoenix
so I can look it up on
Any jerseys?
HockeyDB.
Any jerseys for Phoenix Copley tonight?
So on the Lightning side, the question is still out there about Hagel's status. So he did not participate in the optional skate, but I don't think we can read anything into that one way or the other. Might be that he's going to miss the game, might be that he's going to play tonight. So Copley in the AHL this year is 7-6 in 13 games played. So he's played fairly regularly, I would say. It's not like he's going to be rusty, but he hasn't played an NHL game since last year. He played one game with the Kings.
Sure.
And that was in a relief role. So his last start with the Kings in the NHL was 2 years ago, 23-24.
I want to just make one comparison, then we can take some questions at Bolts Radio. Kopitar.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. Would we agree one of the better two-way forwards of this generation?
Yes.
Okay.
2-time Selke Trophy winner.
I actually think the praise that Jonathan Taves gets is more apropos to going to Kopitar. Like, I think he's Taves, but a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make the case that Barkov might be more in line with a Kopitar in terms of those guys who play heavy minutes, are very good defensively, good face-off guys, but also are very good scorers.
Yeah.
I think Kopitar doesn't get enough, and maybe this is my long-winded way of saying, maybe it's because he's out west. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I don't think there's any doubt that he's a Hall of Famer. I think Taves gets a lot of that publicity because they won some cups.
So do the Kings, though.
Right, but I mean, like,
Kopitar was there for all of the Kings Cups.
But I always feel like in this conversation of two-way forwards, I don't know if Taves gets elevated more because of whatever that is. Maybe he's Canadian and that's why. But I just feel like Kopitar, if you had to ask me, most complete centermans or forwards, obviously Crosby's going to be top of that list, but Kopitar, in terms of what he can do day in and day out, along with like Patrice Bergeron, I mean, come on. That's elite of the elite over the last 20 years.
So I'm looking at Kopitar's career numbers. His first season in the NHL was 06-07.
Yeah.
He is approaching 1,500 games played.
I mean,
that is
really
fairly rarefied air. So, yeah, if you've been in the NHL for 20 years, this is his 20th season. Now, I understand, there was the 12-13 season that was a shortened season, and then, of course, 2021 was also a weird year because, we played, 56 games around the league. But in those 20 seasons, he has been so unbelievably durable. This is almost like Ovechkin type numbers. So the first year that he was in the NHL, he played 72 games out of 82. I'm just going to do quick math here and through the years. So that year he didn't play 10. Several years later, there was a season where he didn't play 7. In 12-13, he missed 1 game. A couple years later, he missed 2. A few years later, he missed 6. 1920, he played 70. I'm guessing that was every game because the season was shortened. And then in the last 4 years, he's missed one game every year. So it's hard for me to do like how many games could he have played, but we're probably looking in the neighborhood, Greg, of about in a 20-year career in the regular season, he's only missed about 30 games. That is insane when you think about it. Because he's a guy that plays a lot, right? He's a guy that is among, usually the top plus-minus guys. Not every year. When the Kings struggled, he had some minus years. But, generally a guy who's considered one of the top players, one of the top two-way players, plays a lot, and just you could count on him to be in the lineup every single night. In the 2 years the Kings won the Stanley Cup, he was at a point per game through those playoff runs. So when they needed, that was kind of the little bit of the, I shouldn't even say soft underbelly about those cup teams for the Kings, because there was nothing soft about them, but they focused so much on defending and they were so hard to score against that they didn't score a lot often themselves. But Kopitar did provide offense. And you look at their 2 runs in the playoffs, he was at a point per game. He led the way, or was one of the leaders for those teams to help them get enough offense so that they could win games and ultimately win the cup. And, they went head-to-head with the Hawks a couple of times. You're talking about Taves. Like, that was a key matchup. There was one year the Hawks won it, and then the next year the Kings beat the Hawks. And then each team went on to win the Stanley Cup, 2013 and 2014. It's sure a Hall of Fame player. Yeah. I mean, is he in the category of like a Crosby? No, he isn't. I mean, Crosby was able to do a lot more offensively. And I would probably even say Barkov has more. Part of it is that Barkov has maybe more offensive talent, but also Barkov has played on a team that has generated more offense. The Kings through the years have not really let the horses out of the barn at all. So maybe that's affected him a little bit. And he's been content to be their kind of defensive center first, right?
He's a great player,
mm-hmm.
and he will be a Hall of Famer. There's no question about it. Let's get to some questions, partner. Tonight, enjoy some Reef Rum, though. Smooth, versatile, now pouring at Benchmark International Arena. Order a Tropical Wave or a Lightning Mule and taste why fans are switching. Reef Rum is a premium craft Florida local rum built on authenticity, quality, and easy drinkability. Ask for Reef Rum by name. Go Bolts. Please enjoy responsibly. All right, so we got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Get them in, because I know we haven't been able to get to all of them recently. Anarigo says, can't be here live today. Kiddo is coming home from college, but we will be at the arena tonight. Hope we get Vassy and Mac back. Go Bolts. We'll watch the recorded later today. And we invite you, if you're around, to come to the last call right across the street. We'll do the postgame show. We appreciate you. And it's always fun. You've got kids coming home from college, right, partner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. Life-changing. Here we are.
The house is a little less quiet, but I make sure that it's quiet between 12 and 1.
Thaw345 said, looks like the right place, partner. So that always brings me flashbacks when you post on X, and we always get funny people who get there. This is a pretty good one. FKA322 says, what do you think are the Lightning's biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses up to this point this season? Well, we've done a lot of this. I mean, strength, I think what we have found out has been their depth.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and if you want to specifically talk about where, I mean, Chief has said the back end for him has been maybe the biggest surprise / positive aspect of their team. So I think that's all relevant. The negatives are not a surprise, at least up to this point. I think the power play and the faceoffs are two things we want to see get better.
I think actually the biggest weakness is faceoffs. Because I think the power play can turn into a unit that is more reliable than it has been. It's probably been the biggest disappointment this year that the power play is where it is. But in terms of weakness, an inability to win faceoffs regularly has been an obstacle the Lightning have had to work around.
Yeah. I don't know what you do about that other than is it as big a concern to the point where Do you have to go out and get somebody? Now, the thing about it is, ideally, you'd like to get a face-off guy that is just not buried on the fourth line and that can play in more of a regular role. Like Glendening had a role. He could come out, take
He did more than win face-offs, but
I think ideally...
it was still limited, yeah.
I think ideally you'd like somebody in the top 9 where, if it's late in a game and you're protecting a lead, you feel comfortable with them out there. And if you're on the power play in the offensive zone and they can win a face-off and they need to stay out there for a little bit, you feel comfortable. Maybe even a better question at this point, partner, is who is the best Lightning's face-off guy right now, if you had to guess?
Yeah, statistically, I think right now the only 2 guys over 50% who have taken more than a few, and I think even the guys who have taken only a few are under 50, are Nick Paul and Jake Gensel. And Gensel, he is a natural centerman. I shouldn't say he's a natural centerman. Before he joined the Penguins, he was a center. When he got to the Penguins, he was playing on Crosby's line for much of that time, and he just didn't take a lot of faceoffs. He is capable of taking faceoffs, and he has done okay on faceoffs in that he is over 50%, but it's not like he's taking every faceoff, right? I mean, he's taking select faceoffs on his strong side, often to start a power play.
Right.
Paul has had a more limited, sample size, or a smaller sample size, because he missed the time at the beginning of the year, so he's just taking fewer faceoffs. All the other guys are under 50%. Cirelli for a time was over 50, but he has dipped under 50 again. So,
the 2 guys...
I don't know what the answer is to it.
Yeah. The 2 guys that are in a top 6 who you'd like to see those face-off numbers go up, you're not going to pull them, is, specifically Cirelli and Point. What are you going to do about that?
Yeah. And look, they are both, I would say, below their career numbers. I'm actually going to go to it right now so we can give you exact.
Are they both under
numbers.
50 at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Cirelli is down to 47.8. What does that mean? That means that he's taken 444 faceoffs and he's lost 20 more than he has won. So you may be like, oh, it's only 20. It takes a lot to make up 20 faceoffs lost. You need to be rolling for a few games. Point is lower. He's at 45.5. He's taken fewer faceoffs than Cirelli, in part because he missed some time, in part because Gensel is taking some faceoffs from Point, depending on, where the faceoff is taking place when those guys are out there. Point, we'll just say this, Point is minus 26. So he's lost 26 more faceoffs than he's won. Paul has won 89 and lost 80. He's at 52.7. And Gensel is now under 50, so I didn't even realize that. He's close, though. He's minus 2. So he's 72 wins, 74 losses. By far the best guy on power play faceoffs, though, is Cirelli.
Yeah.
So Cirelli's done well on power play faceoffs. He doesn't always take them because he's not always sent out there with the first unit. So I think some of this came earlier in the year. He is 128 and lost 12 on power plays. That's great. But is worse shorthanded, where he does take a lot of faceoffs. He is 33 wins, 65 losses. So basically, he has lost almost 2 out of every 3 shorthanded faceoffs.
It's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. And a lot of times he's being thrown on his weak side because the other team knows that he's out there. Like, you don't have a right-handed centerman other than Finley who would kill penalties because Point doesn't do it.
And this is where it's tough, because I think for Finley, it would have been tough to break this lineup as a regular anyways, but what was the calling card supposed to be coming out of training camp and in the preseason, and why he made the team was that you got this big kid who maybe is very sound defensively but can win faceoffs. Now, you just couldn't get in the lineup enough to justify keeping him and seeing those statistics. But
and it's not played out that way, Greg. He's taken over 100 faceoffs. He's at 46.8. So he's taken 3 shorthanded faceoffs. He's lost all of them. So it's not like throwing him out there was a magic elixir.
No, and maybe unfair to expect him to be very good from the start. We know in the NHL you've got to find your groove when it comes to the faceoff circle. It takes some time sometimes. So maybe the expectations internally were a bit high for Finley, but there was an opportunity maybe had he gotten off to a really good start when he played, winning a ton of faceoffs. Maybe was that going to be a solution? Probably not. Again, probably unfair. But if there was one area where he could have had a seat at the table a little more regularly, it would have been, hey, can we rely on him to win faceoffs? It just hasn't happened.
Let me just point out, though, that their poor percentage on shorthanded faceoffs has not hurt them in terms of the penalty kill. I mean, yeah, they've given up a few recently and their percentages dropped, but they're still second in the NHL. And not that long ago, they were first. So you're like, all right, well, Cirelli's losing 2 out of every 3, but it's important to have Cirelli out there on the ice killing a penalty because the Lightning, they've done a good job killing penalties this year. It's just they're not starting with the puck. They're making it harder on themselves. And honestly, the way Hagel and Cirelli can attack shorthanded, you start winning some faceoffs, you can go on the attack right away, maybe. So that has been a problem area. That has probably been the biggest weakness, which was what the fan asked.
Biggest weakness that again, this is where the interesting situation plays in personnel-wise. Do you go out and make
Maybe.
Is that an area you feel like you should go out and get some help? If you feel
and ideally it would be a righty. I mean, like I mentioned Deno, I have no idea if Deno is somebody who's on any team's radar. Like if his offense is completely dried up, it may not just be a chain of scenery that he needs. Maybe, that's just where he is right now as a player. He is good on faceoffs. I mentioned that. But really the Lightning need a righty.
Yeah.
They need a righty they can lean on for important faceoffs.
Mm-hmm. Could be something to look at.
Yeah.
Dusty the Dog says 11-7 because of Mac coming back. Question marks.
Possibly Dusty, but a couple of things at play. First of all, it was an optional skate, so it's hard to gather any information from that. And second of all, Coop is not meeting with the media until later, so we don't know. But yeah, it's possible.
It is.
Did
Alan
you
says,
hear Zettler's quote? I heard it on Daily Strike.
Which
Thank
you
you, Steve.
Never miss.
For putting it in there. Yes.
Shame
well, clearly you did miss it because you didn't hear it.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I heard it on Daily Strike. Anyway, he was talking about because he runs the D, and he's like, basically for much of the time that we've had McDonagh and Chernak, like when the other team sends their best players over the boards, I'm looking to McDonagh and Chernak. That's where I'm going. He's like, it becomes trickier on the road where you don't get the last change. And he's like, that's kind of changed for me in the last 20 games. Most of that time without McDonagh and Chernak. He's like, now I kind of feel like it doesn't really matter. I mean, he didn't say it doesn't matter, but he has confidence that, you send out whomever. He has a variety of options when the other team's best players come over the boards.
I don't think
that is quite a compliment to
the
group that's there.
But also, too, that also tells me when those guys come back, they're going back to that.
Well,
job,
that's true,
right?
Greg. But I think that you're talking about this is the coach giving his opinion about his confidence level, his comfort level.
Sure.
So the group that has been in the absence of the injured defenseman, they have done well, and according to the coaching staff, they have made strides in terms of growing their game and adding responsibility that they can handle.
Let's get to Allen with the return of Vasilevskiy and McDonagh, providing they are in top form. I think the defense will develop into a well-oiled machine, and the Eastern Conference will need to watch out. The Bolts are coming. Look, I kind of made the case a bit yesterday that why not the Lightning having a seat at the table here with some of these teams in the Eastern Conference. And the reason was a lot of this depth, but also how they're defending. In other words, at the beginning of the year, I think people liked the Lightning as a playoff team, but maybe that was it. And hence, I think what we were saying is, look, the Lightning have some warts just like every other team, but some of the main components of their game, the key ingredients, are pretty impressive. And they're defending. They're getting good goaltending. I think for the most part, they're scoring. Can we quibble here and there with certain players not performing as well? For sure. Injuries have played a role in this. But I do think the Lightning through 30-plus games have now entered into a conversation with a shorter list of teams in the East who could come out potentially and represent that conference in a Stanley Cup final. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, of course. They have to play. But I think they've opened up some eyes.
They have, Greg, but I mean, the ground underneath all the teams in the East is very unsteady.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you go up and down the conference, any team could make the playoffs, any team could miss the playoffs, and that includes the Lightning. If they don't keep up their point-munching capabilities, they could miss the playoffs. It's that tight.
You got to munch.
Yeah, you do.
Let's see.
I'm not
here.
disagreeing with what you're saying. Like, do
No,
I think the
understand.
Lightning could be a team to be reckoned with, assuming they can get into the playoffs and then, do well in the playoffs? Are they a team, as they are structured, that could be a formidable opponent? Yes, absolutely. But things are so tight that you just need to make sure that you're keeping your head above water.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's all fair.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay. Hagel status is up in the air still? Question mark. I mean, as far as we know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
nothing new there. Wicked. So we could possibly play against a goalie who hasn't started an NHL game. Sounds like they have the game of their life and we're getting goalied.
Well, this is a little different. Phoenix Copley has played in the
has.
NHL before,
He has.
unlike Lindbaum from Vegas, who had a whale of a game in his debut,
Yeah.
right? It's just Copley hasn't played in the NHL this year.
We addressed
And we
this,
don't
but
know if he's in. They
Yes.
could go back with Anton Forsberg in a back-to-back.
Spectre says the real question is, will Copley get a tribute video on the Jumbotron for his services?
He stole your joke.
He did. Well, he might have said it before I did. I can't tell. Chris says, Marco D'Amico initially reported the Danault trade rumor, which then some national insiders have echoed. However, Danault's agent, Alan Walsh, has publicly denied those rumors, as have the Kings, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I have no additional insight or input to give you. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I was surprised when I saw it. And I saw the same stats that Greg cited, which is saying like his offense has completely like dried up.
I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah.
how
And I
bad
mean,
it's
it's not like he hasn't played a lot this year.
No, he's played
We just
30
mentioned
games.
30 games, 5 assists total.
I mean, come on.
Let me check his. You know what? As you do that, I'm just going to check his average ice time. So how is he being used? Danault is averaging 16-19. I think that to me that feels a little bit low, because I think he would normally be getting some penalty kill time in there, but I can actually see where he was at in some.
You're not at
past
12
years.
minutes. You're not at 12 minutes. I mean,
No, you're not at
16 's still
12
a decent
minutes.
amount, you know.
I mean, that is true.
I don't know. Let's go.
All right,
to
I have
stats.
his stats.
What are your stats?
His
say?
career stats. So in his time with the Kings, he came to LA in 21-22. Average ice time per game through the year, and he's been durable. Like he's basically played every game. He's missed 7 games in 4 years until this year. 1808, 1820, 1801, and then last year 1740. So
Yeah.
he is down. And from last year, where he was down a little bit, he's down significantly. He's down almost a minute and a half per game.
And he had 8 goals last year. So this could, I don't, this is one of those things you got to look
Yeah.
at as an organization. Is the player at the
27
wall.
goals his first year with LA.
Yeah. Has he hit a wall?
But last year he was plus 20. So
I don't know.
he really helped them in that regard.
I couldn't tell you, and maybe there is a truth to that rumor of wanting a change of scenery. Maybe
Mm-hmm. Danault has played some power play this year. I mean, their power play has struggled, and he is not playing as much penalty kill as I would have expected. He's averaging a minute of penalty kill time per game. The forwards that are higher, actually, it's mostly the defensemen, but Byfield is at 2 minutes shorthanded per game. Maybe they just haven't been shorthanded a lot. Oh, some of the other forwards are like in the 1.5 to 2 minute range, like Trevor Moore, Alex Laferriere, Armia, who's actually a very good penalty killer throughout his career and has been a threat to score shorthanded goals, and he has 3 shorthanded goals this year. So maybe that's a little bit the reason that Deno is not playing as much shorthanded, but I just remember the guy as being a very, very solid defensive center who can kill penalties, chip in, and more than chip in. A few years ago, he had 27 goals for the Kings.
Right.
And it's just not happening for him. But who knows? Maybe there's nothing to this rumor, as the fan said. The agent and the team is denying it.
It's not a rumor. Scott says, I've become a regular listener. Appreciate what you guys bring to the table. This has been a very entertaining season. The parity in the league is crazy. Excited to see Big Mac back in action. I also think we need to get another scoring forward before the trade deadline, preferably a bigger guy who can help in the playoffs.
So when I said on yesterday's show that depth forwards are available at the deadline, that to me is a little different than a scoring forward.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what that means. Are we talking like a 30-goal scorer? Or are we talking about a guy who's going to do more than chip in a couple of goals, right? Or is it somewhere in between? So the more assets the player has, the more expensive it's going to be to get that player, and the harder it's going to be to get that player, and the more competition there's going to be for that player. I kind of think the Lightning's top 6 is set, assuming everyone's healthy.
5 out of the 6, I think, are set. I think there's some questions.
You would acquire a player to fill out the top 6 and bump all those other guys down.
I probably, look, I've given you my reasons. I think I'd be more willing to give James a longer look, but I understand why they wouldn't. If you feel like this is win now, bump everybody down a little bit, your depth even becomes greater.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I move Nick Paul into a top 6. I kind of like him as a third-line center and then surround him with maybe it is Bjorkstrand and somebody else.
Yeah.
4th line, I wouldn't touch. I think that's your 4th line. And so people always, when you throw these things out here, people want to know names, right? But no inside information. This is just juicy, maybe wishful thinking. And I know the first response partner that you may say to me is, well, Greg, why would they do that? They're in contention too in the East. And it's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you also have to look at the totality of your team and to say, is that a legit cup contender? Or are they just having a pretty good bump here to start the season? And you know where I'm going with this, the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think there are 2 players who I would love to see the Lightning potentially look at. Brian Rust, who I think would be a phenomenal addition to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, again, wishful thinking, but people want names. I'm giving you them. Brian Rust is a playoff performer. He is a multiple 20-goal scorer. He's getting better with age. He's got speed. He feels like a Lightning player in a lot of ways. Just does a lot. He's played with great players, and he has provided and allowed himself to become a very good NHL player. The other one is Rickard Rakell, who is a bona fide scorer in this league, and he is getting better as he's gotten older. Now, look, he's played with Crosby. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a phenomenal shot. I think he is what we thought Bjorkstrand could be. I think that's kind of Rakell. I think Rakell is a better version of Bjorkstrand, but both can fill the net. I think Rakell probably does it better and in more ways. I think those are 2 guys I would inquire about because I know the Penguins have been kind of back and forth. Are we in rebuild? And are these 2 guys we get assets for? Or are we a playoff team, one more run for Sidney Crosby, and, let's see what happens. I tend to think, if you can get into the playoffs with those guys, great.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know if somebody's willing to give up something for a Rust or Rakell, I would make that move. And I think for the Lightning, they're in a much different position than the Penguins, and I think they're in a win-now mode. And I think both of those players would be an incredible asset.
Right.
To what Tampa Bay can do, and they would fill whatever void you have in the top 6. Those are just 2 names.
For what it's worth, because I was curious about their contract status, they make about the same amount. Rust is a little over $5 million a year, and Rakell is $5 million a year, but they both have term. So this year and then 2 additional years. So you'd be taking on a financial commitment and a term commitment. And also that means because you would be theoretically acquiring a player with term,
Correct.
It would cost more.
Correct. So all of that, it may not even be feasible.
You're just looking at how would the player fit.
In a team that's probably kind of like, do we get assets rather than make a deep run in the playoffs? Because really, maybe we're not a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's kind of like, if people want to know the type of players I'm thinking, those are kind of the players I'm thinking.
Well, they are both scoring forwards. But
they are, but they add
backing on my point, that would take more than a 4th round pick or something like that.
Oh, and this is and make no
like
mistake, to get those players, and this kind of dovetails into the other part of our conversations you and I have had. So this is where you'd have to give up probably a player that maybe is part of that back end that you don't want to. But if you said, I can look, if we were willing to give up all that for Tanner Jeannot, we're going to give it up for these 2 guys, one of them, because they're a lot more accomplished and probably can do a lot more, because they've done it. The thing with Rust is injuries. It's been hard for him to stay healthy over the last 5-6 years, but he plays hard, and he's fast, and he can score, and he can kill penalties. I mean, you've seen it. I don't have to describe it to you, partner.
Yeah.
But he would be like, when I think of a Lightning player, that's the guy I would look at. Thaw345 says, I ride or die for Lightning Power Lunch. Yes, you do.
That would mean you're listening in the car, I'm guessing.
I don't know what. We'd love that. Bolts fan, 1997, and staying healthy is a big weakness.
Well, that's not. I guess that's out of your control in a way, but yes. But they aren't the only team to go through it. Whether it's due to the condensed schedule or not, they are definitely not the only team to be dealing with multiple injuries and significant injuries.
Ranger 5253 agree about the face-offs being the biggest weakness. So is that a focus of the deadline or more depth in defense? So if you're asking
actually don't
right
think
now,
they need depth on defense.
No.
We've explored the depth on defense, and it has come through with flying colors. Sorry,
do you go into the depth on defense to acquire that face-off guy? I think that's a better question. And I think that's probably the bigger question that I would have. If you feel like this is a Stanley Cup contending team, all of those options are on the table. And it's okay.
Right.
It's okay to feel that way because you're trying to win a cup again. And that's the point of having depth.
So finding somebody who's good on faceoffs, that is a very wide blanket, right? I mean, you could find somebody, let's just use Glendening as an example. You could find somebody like a Glendening who has a very, very specific talent in one area, but is not going to be used extensively beyond that.
Yeah.
Or you could go out and try and find somebody who can do a lot for you, but also happens to be terrific on faceoffs. So you can address it a couple of different ways. I think the Lightning, look, it would not take as much to find a faceoff specialist who's basically a 4th line guy who is going to be used in a limited role, except can win faceoffs. That's not going to take a lot to get a player like that. And you can look on the league list for the top faceoff guys and see 4th line guys on other teams who do well on faceoffs fit that mold. But there are also top 6 guys who win a lot of faceoffs. So how do you want to address it? I would not be surprised if the Lightning try and help this area some way, somehow, but you also don't want to upset the apple cart about so this would be the argument against bringing in somebody, again, like a Glendening, which is, you're kind of allocating a roster spot just for this one area, and you may not even use, it's not like that player is going to take 80% of all the faceoffs, right? It would be for specific faceoffs, and that player is taking a spot from somebody else in your lineup, as opposed to somebody who is just, is going to be in the lineup whether they were good or not good on faceoffs, but they happen to be really good on faceoffs. That's somebody who's you're adding because they are going to be, elevating your team in a variety of areas.
Right.
I mean, I still see Claude Giroux he just dipped under 67. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to stay that high. 67%, a smidge under. We're approaching the halfway point of the season. Now, he's not taking every faceoff, which is interesting. Ottawa doesn't use him. He's not among the league leaders in faceoffs taken. But, I mean, that thing is as close to money. Like, I can guarantee you, when the Ottawa Senators have pulled the goalie and they have an offensive zone faceoff, Claude Giroux is taking that draw. If they can pick the circle, let's say.
Yeah.
If it's on his strong side, he's taking the faceoff. When they need a faceoff, he's going out there. But also, Claude Giroux plays in a lot of, different ways for the Senators. He's not just out there to take faceoffs. Now, he's like a cut way above. But we mentioned there are a bunch of guys still who are over 60. I'm going to look it up right now. I mean, it's not informative about who the Lightning might be looking at, but, I mean, there are guys who are very, very good on faceoffs. There's no fluke. Drew is at 66.9%. He's taken almost 300 faceoffs. By the way, your guy Taves is second. Taves has always been good on faceoffs, but he is more than 4 percentage points lower, and he's still at an excellent percentage, 62.5.
Yeah.
Then you got Tavares, JT Miller. All right, here's a guy. Atu Ratu with Vancouver.
God bless you.
Yes. And you might be like, who's he? Right? Like, you may be like, he did play. I seem to remember he played in the first meeting between the teams. So he is just a nick under 60%. You might be like, well, how many faceoffs has he taken? He's taken 324 faceoffs. That's no fluke. But he would be a bottom 6 type of guy, right?
Sure.
Could you acquire an Atu Ratu from Vancouver because you're like, we're desperate for faceoffs? Now, he's a lefty. So most of the other guys on this list actually are, I would say, top 6 or significant contributors to their teams. Hurdle with Vegas, Austin Matthews, Pajot, we talked about him with Islanders, and Horvat, they're kind of a dynamic duo on faceoffs. Rope Hintz is, a top 6. Draisaitl, Kopitar, again, not slowing down. He's 57.1%. Ryan O'Reilly, Jordan Stahl. So there you go. Those are the guys who are at the top, and they play a lot.
Do you think the fact that we're having these conversations, have we already made up our mind about Bjorkstrand basically being on the third line? And was he supposed to be in that? Was he supposed to be, though? Like, with the fact that we're having these questions, it hasn't worked out. I don't
think the die is cast yet. So that fan was asking, would they acquire a scoring forward? Bjorkstrand is a scoring forward. He is
100%. He is.
I mean, he's a 20-goal scorer.
Yep.
Now, is he? Who's one of the other guys you mentioned? Like Rickard Rakell is probably a more prolific scorer.
Probably more accomplished scorer.
More accomplished, thank you, than Bjorkstrand. But Bjorkstrand is a scoring forward. Last year, the Lightning at the deadline acquired a scoring forward with term and a bottom 6 guy they knew really well who can do a lot for them, Yanni Gourde, who they re-upped. Mm-hmm. That was not a bad deal for the Lightning to get those sorts of players in. And Yanni has done very well this year, except on faceoffs, where he's one of these guys who are in the low 40s, right? But there's no question, he and his line mates have really helped the Lightning. Bjorkstrand, it's been tough for him to do what he was really brought in to do. But I think he's got, 5 points in the last 4 games. So let's see if he starts to warm up a little bit more.
I don't dispute that he's a goal scorer. I'm just wondering for this team, is it in a top 6?
Right now it is.
And that production, I'm stating the obvious, is going to have to come up if you stay.
Yes.
Which is why we're having the conversation. Isn't there another player you get out there to bring in, and then Bjorkstrand goes down on the third line?
Coincidentally, these 5 points in the last 4 games, that has come when he has been used on the line with Point and Gensel and on the power play.
And let's see
some
if
of
that
it's been
goes.
Power play production.
Yes, if he goes on a heater and this is it, I mean, for him, there is this confidence that needs to get going, and I get that. I want to get to this read before we get to some more calls or more tweets. Strategic Property Partners announced plans for a transformational entertainment district in downtown Tampa. Look at that. Featuring a 3,500-person live music and performance venue, a hotel, retail, and parking offerings. Vinnick Sports Group will manage the entertainment venue located in a vacant parcel across from Benchmark International Arena on Channelside Drive. They expect to break ground in 2027. How about that?
Very exciting.
Love that.
How much the downtown area has changed.
Has it
in a short
for
period
you?
of time.
For you, is it
Wow,
just been
I can't even. I mean, I'm having a hard time remember even what it looked like when I came in 2002. There were a lot of flat, kind of empty lots. There are far fewer now, but even going back 10 years, I mean, so many buildings have gone up in that time, even in the last 5 years. Our audio listeners are not seeing the pictures, but
it's okay.
These renditions are always like, who designed this? It looks so real, right? That is not in my wheelhouse, doing that sort of art.
Get more parking down there available. I think that would be great.
Well, yes. But, when you have these buildings, sometimes you can park in the building. Like, they allocate floors for parking.
Thaw345 also says Jaromir Jagr is still playing.
Yeah. I don't think he's. I think Jagr maybe has taken 10 faceoffs in his whole career.
Did you see?
They're not going to get help on faceoffs by bringing Jagr.
That his Hall of Fame induction has been delayed again because he keeps playing, which is
72 birthday. Is that right? So what is he? 53?
Yeah, I mean that's incredible.
I mean he was on the Penguins. He was on the 91-92 Cup team. He was on the 90-91
He was
Cup
on both.
team.
He was on both.
Yeah, so he would have been 18 when that season started. Yeah, that's amazing. I saw Corey Perry has a birthday. So his birthday's in May. So, of course, he's still been playing for when he was with Edmonton. They went deep in the playoffs 2 years in a row. He was playing when he had his birthday. He's going to be 41 next May.
How about that?
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. Hanging around.
I mean, how many years in a row did he play in Anaheim, team that drafted him?
Yeah.
I think he came up his rookie year pro. He also came up. He was split. So he's AHL and NHL, 05-06. So longer than Kopitar.
Yeah.
His first year was 06-07. All those years until he moved on from Anaheim. But since then, what was it? Dallas, Montreal, the Lightning, Chicago, Edmonton, LA.
How many years in a row was he competing in the Stanley Cup final? It was like kind of a running tab on that, right?
It's still going on, right?
Yeah. How many years?
Well, he was the second year with the Lightning.
Yeah.
So that was a miss, but he did with Dallas in the bubble.
Yeah.
He did with Montreal in 21. He did with the Lightning in 22, then missed a year in 23 with the Lightning, 24 and 25 with Edmonton.
It's incredible.
So what is that? 5 of the last 6 years?
And he's only won one cup. Is that right?
Yeah, and that was with Anaheim.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Man, that is a career.
He loves to play, though.
Yeah, good for him. Sam, I'm just putting Sam. I want Ryan O'Reilly. No, he does win faceoffs.
He does win faceoffs, yes.
Our good friend Lucas.
He's a very, very effective playoff competitor, too. We saw that in that little brief time he had with the Maple Leafs when the Leafs beat the Lightning in 23.
Let's get to this last one, and then we can sign off. Lucas, my neighbor, Bjorky, has had looks, but his last few wrist shots that aren't 2 feet away have missed the net. He needs to get the puck on the net.
Well, Coop talked about that, Lucas, when he was asked about Bjorkstrand, when Bjorkstrand started producing. He's like, maybe he was trying to, be a little too fine. But I will point out the Gensel power play goal that was scored in New Jersey came about because Bjorkstrand did get a shot on net. Forced a save, and Gensel was there to clean up the rebound. So I'm not saying you don't have a point that he has missed the net. He has missed the net at points this year. But recently, he had a shot that was on net, and that shot led directly to the rebound goal.
Interesting. That's going to wrap.
Yes.
For
1
us.
hour in the books.
1 hour in the books. We appreciate you guys. Like we said, game tonight. Pregame will be at 6:30. Last call will be after the game. And then we will be doing our show tomorrow. Are we taping? Did we say tape?
Live for me.
Tomorrow's live. That's right. Tomorrow's
Yes.
live. So get those questions in.
If you're pre-taping, you will be pre-taping without me.
I will be talking to myself, apparently.
Yes. I have the dog. I have the dog at
It's okay.
TGH tomorrow morning.
All right.
So we haven't been
There you
there in a
go.
little while with travel and everything else.
The holidays
that's been
coming
going
up,
on.
right? You want to make sure you get there and
Yeah.
do your thing. So
Yeah.
for sure.
It'll be good for her to
Yeah. That's always
visit
great.
some folks.
We appreciate it, partner. I will catch you tonight with the boys.
See you tonight.
Yep. Great work as always. Thanks to Steve Ersnick. Thanks to you for listening always, guys. We appreciate it. I am Greg Linnelli. You've been listening to Power Lunch on Lightning Radio.